Hi brothers and sisters, going to do another video. Hope it's fairly short, but there's a lot to be discussed. And we're going to look at 4 passages, maybe not so in depth on 2, but it certainly ties into what we've discussed on this channel. So the passage is found in, let me see here, Job 26 is verse 11, alright? So, and this is what it says. Okay, it says this. It says, the pillars of heaven tremble and are astonished at, it says his reproof, it's hers. She's the one that's standing up finally. We've discussed this. Anybody who's been on our channel, my channels, both of them, then you know where we get all this understanding from. So I'm not going to delve into it. What we're going to take a look at, it says the pillars of the heavens quake and are aghast at her rebuke. So if we go to Psalm 50, and again, this is one passage I actually didn't have pulled up, so we'll go there right quick. We've read it on my channel before. Anybody who's watched either of my channels, I think you know why we go to this passage. Sorry, I'm still favoring a bad tooth. I talk funny because of my tooth. Psalm 50 is the passage. I'll get there. I have so many things in my Bible, tucked in my Bible, it makes it hard to get to the passages I want now. So Psalm 50, I believe. It's either 50 or 55. Yeah. This is when the Qoheleth, which we understand is the female assembler in Ecclesiastes, I believe it's 12, who is assembling the Proverbs and putting them in order. And we see her speaking because she was accused by her husband in the garden, who is the accuser, Satan, so he could exalt himself as build that idol up, that statue, that male statue in Daniel 2, and build himself up as the ruler and God on earth. After he accuses her of these nasty things, she goes silent. And then she says in Isaiah 42, as the restrainer, she says, long time have I been silenced. I have restrained myself, but now will I go forth as a travailing woman. So here we go to her speaking and rebuking him. And it's in Psalm 50. And if we go to Psalm 55, we find out after the accusations of her supposed beloved, she says, and I said, oh, that I had the wings like a dove, for then I would fly away and be at rest. Because he accused her, she says, it wasn't just anybody that accused me, but it was you. Somebody that I thought I knew and I could trust, and yet you accused me of doing horrible things so you could build yourself up. And that's that idol, yeah. And and she says in Psalm 55, and it is her spirit speaking after she got pointed at by her so-called other half of the covenant. But why? So he could build his power up. I am a God. I will. I am, he says in Isaiah 14. And so she says this in Psalm 50. She says, thou sittest and speakest against they got brother, sister. He accused his sister, his wife. It says my sister, my spouse, in Song of Songs 4:12. Okay? So let's get that straight. Thou sittest and speakest against thy own sister. Thou slanderest thine own mother's daughter. That's right. These things thou hast done, and I kept silence. Go to Isaiah 42. Long time have I been silenced. I have been restrained. I have restrained myself. Now will I go forth and deliver my children. It was always appointed on her to do it, not him. That's the lie. That's that image standing built up by every consecutive kingdom after that continued to build a religious lie up. Man, 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 as your God, 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 and your life giver, and we see that stone cut out without hands, which we'll get to in a minute. So she says, you accusest me. These things hast thou done, and I kept silence. That thought is that I was altogether just like you. I'm not like you. I'm made in my mother's image. I ain't made in your image, and I certainly ain't no harlot teaching you. You're the God, are you? You have the right to make the laws. You have the right to yoke me. That's just a liar and an accuser. And Job tells us that. Job validates that. He says, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? For what portion of God is there from above? That takes you to Malachi 2. You dealt treacherously with the wife of your youth. That's right. Yet is she still the spirit of your covenant, not the harlot that you exalt in your heart so you can play God and build that image up. Yeah. And all the harlots right along with you. So you did these things. I kept silence. You thought I was like you, but I will reprove thee. And I will set them in order before your eyes. That's the female assembler, the Koheleth in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, that they call the preacher. And it says that when she begins to fire these proverbs off, it says, now consider this, you that forget God, lest I tear you in pieces, and there be none to deliver you. That's Ariel, the lionesses of God, which again we're going to look at in a minute too. But if we go to Ecclesiastes 12, right quick, what does it say? Okay, going the wrong way. Ecclesiastes chapter 12. I know, there's a whole bunch of mockers out there. She's just a dummy. She don't know what she's talking about. Listen to me, I'm educated. I'm beautiful. I've had surgery on my face. Look at me. What's not to trust about me? I'm building you up. Oh, keep on hearkening to the spirit of the harlot. So, what does she say? I think I got the right chapter. It's the next part where she begins to speak. And moreover, because the preacher, that's your female assembler there, you Koheleth, go look the word up, it's 6753. Then scroll down, it'll say female assembler. All right, your Koheleth. But they wanted to translate it as a preacher because preacher sounds like a male, which is what they all want to teach, a male, male, male. So, and moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught. No, she is wisdom. She says, you want to stay ignorant. You want to stay stupid. You don't want to listen to sound reasoning from your mother wisdom. Then fine, I'll send the rod of iron and I'll cut you away because you're not my children. And she says, as far as your little ones go, you're teaching them the same lie. They're not my children. You turn back to me and start teaching them the truth. And we'll see what happens from there. But you're not going to do that, are you? You're going to force her to send the rod. So the preacher still taught the people knowledge. Yea, she gave good heed and sought out and set in order many proverbs. So that's the little book that we discovered is sealed up at the end of days for the sevenfold spirit to find. All right? And you only find it by down on your knees speaking to your mother wisdom, to her spirit. Will she lead you into all truths? The preacher, the female assembler, sought to find out acceptable words, and that which was written was upright. That means the truth. We're looking for the truth, sound truth that reasons out, not a lie. Written was upright, even words of, truth, 571. The words of the wise are as goads. Okay, this is the passage I want to look at right quick. It'll go with Job 26. The words of the wise are as goads and as nails fastened by the masters of assembly, that's the spirit, which are given from one, what? Shepherdess. The stone of Israel, the shepherdess, will come from Joseph. That's right. That's what it says in Joseph's blessings. That's feminine. That's not male. That's your Holy One upon the earth, she, spirit. So, this is like punishment to them, to hear this. Which is also going to line us up with the word aghast here, or however you want to say it. It says, the pillars of the heavens quake aghast at her rebuke. All right, let's look the word aghast up and see where it actually takes us to. Okay, so on interlinear, if we look up aghast, this here it says, astonished at her rebuke. That's right. It's going to take us to the word 8539. It's a verb, to be astounded or dumbfounded. Watch this. To be sore amazed, to be terrified, to be wondered at, to look, to be shocked, to be amazed. But look at where it's found. It says the pillars. All right. What's the pillars? What's the pillars of heaven? All right. And I'm not a drawer. It's those legs, right? That false image is founded on. And why is the heavens starting to shake? Or, let me get this right. So the pillars of heaven tremble. They are astonished at her rebuke. Okay, let me see if I got it up right here. So, my computer slow again. Really slow. But we get the idea. These pillars are the legs of that image in Daniel 2, that the stone cut out without hands, which is your top capstone that you find spoken of in Zechariah 4, which is a feminine, grows into a mighty mountain itself after it smashes the toes on that image of a man as your Lord and your God. And God says, I'll remove the name of Baal out of your mouth. He's not your Lord and your ruler. He never was. He's not master over you. It's the Spirit that's master and ruler over the kingdom. I promised it to her long ago. The pillars of the heavens quake. That's the legs right here. Why is the heavens quaking? When this stone cut out without hand, which is identified as the daughters of Israel, reborn out of the dust of the earth, from Psalm 29 verse 4, holding the spirit of mother's covenant on their tongue. They're not holding guile anymore. They're not teaching man as your, that gave life to all things, because he didn't. Because it doesn't reason. And wisdom, if you've got the wisdom enough to know that, then you're going to know it doesn't reason out. So she says, you fools who despise reasoning. Let's go to it. But we see the pillars shaking. Why are they shaking? Because those daughters are smashing the toes on that false image of a king. So that is why the heavens is quaking. Because the heavens, the second heaven, is built on the harlot spirit that has been exalted in man's heart, that exalts him as Lord and God. Yeah, that's right. So we were going, where was I going? It wasn't Daniel 2. Now I can't remember what I said. Well, when I remember it, we'll go back to it. We see these pillars. Now, let's look at this word. All right, we just did. We're going to take a look at it again. Astonished, 8539. And where else does it appear? All right. It led me to an immediate understanding, because I'd studied another passage and I looked at the commentary on it, and it had this complete understanding. So Psalm 48, 5 says this. We'll just read this as a quick reference. They saw her and were astounded. They fled in terror. Okay. Trembling seized them there, anguish like a woman in labor. It says, for behold, the kings assembled, they all advanced together. Well, they did in the beginning, right? When they attacked the woman and her seed. That's right, the daughters, for holding the covenant of mother. And it says they continually tried to take her captive in Ezekiel 9. Every time she brought daughters forth, strong scepters for the rule, they would bear down upon her and completely, over time, took her in their captivity under the bondage of a religious law and law. So here we see the trembling seized them there, anguish like a woman in labor, right? They saw and were astounded. They fled in terror. Now, we did this in the beginning. The women did this in the beginning to Mother's Covenant. They fled, trembling seized them there, and then we're told what they brought forth over time was empty doctrines. Wind. We're told that. in Isaiah 26. We have been with child, we have, as it were, brought forth wind, empty doctrines, because they were taken captive by a man-made religious lie that taught God was all about this, muscle. God wasn't about the spirit inside. God was about muscle. And yet God says, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit to accomplish all things. All right. So, now we're going to go to Jeremiah, is where we're heading. 30, verse 6. Ask ye now and see if a man does give life. That's what it really should say. It says, does travail with child. Ask ye now. All right? Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his hips, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned pale. This is the place where if you go and you pull up commentary, maybe we should do that. All right? Maybe we're going to do that. Let's just see this here for a minute. We'll pull another tab here. Yeah, that will work. So we'll go to Jeremiah 31. Is it 31? Didn't I just have it on? 30 verse 6. I keep forgetting. 30 verse 6. Okay, parallel. We'll see what that does. Don't always... Commentaries. There. And when it says every face turned pale... Okay, see if we can go down here and find, it says ask, paleness, properly the color of herbs blasted and fading, the green paleness of one into jaundice, the sickly paleness of terror. That also sounds like the color of the fourth horseman. This is Matthew, what was it? Oh, sorry. Matthew Poole's commentary. Then we go down and see what else it says. It does. It leads you to the idea of that fourth horseman. But if we go into other commentary, now it's not given it. But it has the idea that they're bearing witness to the government system and even the religious system falling. And they're angered either by what they're seeing, very angered over it. I think maybe the commentary wasn't this one. I think maybe the commentary was on... what does it say? All faces are turned to paleness, or turned to fire, aflamed. All faces are aflamed. Let me just Google that and see what I can come up with. I use Google not for any particular reason. I just Google. It's the one I have here, and it's the one I use. So, let's look up verse. Every face turned pale or aflamed with fear. Let's see what that brings up. Let me see if this is it. I don't think it is. Nations writhed in horror before them, and every face turned pale. But that's not the one I was looking for. There is another verse. And when I locate it, but there was a commentary on it. This could be. Let me just look. I'm sorry I'm fumbling so bad. But let me just take a quick look and see if this is the passage. So this one says in the very first commentary, it says, and of Luther's translation is obtained from the similarity of the Hebrew words for rudiness and pot. The comparison is in this case between the faces growing black under the influence of fear and of pots under the action of fire. The prophet Nahum uses the same expression. So that could have been it, but it doesn't read like where I was studying. I'll still look here right quick. We're rent by abasement and self-abhorrence, by sorrow for their sins and separation from them. That's not it. Come on. I'm sorry. Anyway, if I find it, I will definitely put it up. But here they are in Job. Again, they are astonished at what they're hearing. And the commentary that I read, and now I can't remember the voice, it had to do with their face being aflamed. Some translate it being on fire as they turn to each other. They look at each other with their faces on fire. They're angry. They're angry at their rebuke. They're angry at what they're hearing. But yet at the same time, they can't deny the wisdom behind it. All right? So they're angered by it. And I will write the verse down under it. I'm sorry I took so long messing around. But, so when we look at that verse, the fact that they're astonished at her rebuke, and that the pillars on this statue are shaking, has the idea that that stone has indeed come into existence and is beginning to work upon the earth. And over time, will eventually smash the toes on that false image. This is what we have clung to as our stronghold. Our stronghold was never found in a man. It was never found in a man. It was never found in a son. Our stronghold was found in the Holy One upon the earth, called Daughter of Zion. How can we verify that? Well, if we go to, right here, Jeremiah 6:27, she says to her daughters of Zion, O daughter of my people, dress yourself in sackcloth and roll in ashes, mourn with bitter wailing, as you would for not an only son. The only daughter came from the woman's seed and was called Israel. That was Mother God's only daughter. After Adam pointed at her and accused, so he could build himself up through all the consecutive kingdoms on this religious lie that he spoke against her. So here we have the woman's seed, only daughter. So it says, mourn with bitter wailing as you would for an only daughter, for suddenly the destroyer will come upon us. And indeed, he did. He came through a multitude of men, is what he did. He came through Nimrod, who began building up Babylon by being a great hunter in the land and going after the righteous daughters, going after the righteous sons. And then we see it passed on to other men like King Solomon. And that is the secret of King Solomon. They exalt the key of Solomon. The Freemasons built a male statue up as God. And that is their big secret that they don't want you to know, especially you women. And when these daughters, known as that stone cut out without hand, the reborn spirit upon this earth, begins to work, those pillars that heaven is founded upon begin to shake at her rebuke. That's right, at her lie. So, Jeremiah 6:27, for this suddenly the destroyer will come upon my only daughter and will destroy and smash your stronghold. So, where was the stronghold? We're told where the stronghold was. We'll go there in a minute. Right here, yeah, Jeremiah 27. I have made you a tester of metals. Oh, look at that. Those are the feet of clay. Well, that ain't a metal. And iron. So it says, I have made you a tester of metals and my people the ore, that you may observe and test their ways. So it was the daughters of Zion And she was known as the stronghold mentioned in Micah 4:8. So let's go to Micah. Micah 4:8 says this. And I don't know where's Micah. Micah 4:8. What does it say? And thou, O tower, O stronghold of the flock, the stronghold of Israel, the daughter of Israel, of the daughter of Zion, she flowed like a living water from Lebanon. That's your stronghold. Unto thee shall it come, even the first dominion. The kingdom shall come to the daughters of Jerusalem, the daughters of Israel, the daughters of the north kingdom. It comes to them. Because what Song of Songs chapter 8 is addressing is the rebuilding of her as the palace upon this earth where the government of God met, which was known as the house in the forest of Lebanon, which King Solomon targeted and went after, and changed the portion in the midst to a harlot spirit that would build a man up as God. Yeah. But you know, that don't reason out. Don't make sense. No. So, now we're going to go to 2 Corinthians. Okay, where is it? Okay, right there. So 2 Corinthians, I have to put this down. He is here. And it says, the weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power. You hear that? Divine power to demolish strongholds. What's the stronghold we're founded on? A male as God and king and ruler. 3, at the very least 1, as taught by the polluted Israelite males whom Balaam told Balak, go get your women and send them in. And they were in there like these serpents, crawling into the men, seducing them with a lie on the tongue. That's right. And they became the ones that they eventually married, because it was like honey on their tongues. It tickled their ears. It was what they wanted to hear. Man could make the laws. Man could build himself up as powerful as he'd like. Man could have all the goods. He could even take her and say she was good to him. And he could possess as many as he'd like. Oh, you think that didn't tickle their ears? Of course it did. And so these Israelite men in the wanderings rejected a covenant with the daughter of Zion. And that is why Moses was instructed by God upon this earth. The presence of the Lord upon this earth was the daughters of Israel. That's right. That's right. And it's a divine power. That's what it was. But she pulled back and she said, fine, we'll let you have your way. We discussed this, right? In all the other videos. You're not going to watch 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there and think you get it, because you don't. It took me 10 years to understand the things that I understand. You're not going to understand it by going 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there and think you've got it all together, because you will never have it together unless you actually go through and determine that the truth matters to you and not a religious lie. And so Moses was ordered, instructed, however you want to say it, to make an idol and send it and post it. This is send feedback because it just took away my passage. And was instructed to make a brass serpent which represented the glory, the seraphim, that you're going to find in Isaiah chapter 6. And it is the bride that's in view there. It is not no man. It is the spirit of the original covenant in that passage of Isaiah 6. We've proven it. We've brought the text down to a little book so that you get the gist of what was taking place. So the adversary against the woman, who was the righteous spirit in her covenant that man was to hearken to, became the harlot spirit exalted in man's heart. And I'm going to suggest to you that the real snake in the garden was Adam, telling his lies. She says, they accuse me of things that I know nothing about. And until a witness can come forth to testify to the truth and ask for justice and for my judgment, then it's going to have to go that way. Until we can come up with a real witness in the earth. And so I believe that's what my personal job has become. To witness to what the truth is in the earth. And then to say, hey, what they're telling us God isn't adding up. It's simply not making sense. But that doesn't matter, because I wrote a comment under my last two videos, and I would suggest go and read them. Because it absolutely is the only thing that is reasoning out and making sense in the context of the whole thing. And in Corinthians, again, they took my passage from me. Let me see if I can pull it up. What was it? 2 Corinthians 10:4. Oh, 10:4. Sorry. Okay, let's see if we can get this pulled up again. Yeah. The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. What do they fight with? What do men fight with? This. That's God right there. No, that's just clay. That's all that is. And the spirit you've got exalting that is the harlot, who looks at man and says, well, yeah, God gave life to all things. I'll bow down to that image that they have built up over time and forced you through violence to bow to. And you just don't get it. Yep. No, it doesn't make sense. God made male and female. The female is certainly your life giver, as it is her body that shapes and forms the clay, and then she gives life. Yeah. Not you. Not your little XY. It's her XX doing it. And you can say, oh, well, if you take the father away, well, guess what happens when you take the mother away? This mess. And the whole heavens has got to be remade. Because we are founded upon a lie. And only when she begins to speak and rebuke those liars for what they have done to our children, to us, to themselves, if they only but knew it. They have brought on our death. They have not brought life to us. Through their religious lies and laws, the weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, we fight from the Spirit. God says, I write the truth on your heart. It ought to be speaking to you, and it's not, because you are without the Holy One. You don't even know her. What does it say in Isaiah 29? And yeah, I get mad when I hear stupid people. I'm really tired of it. You don't make sense. You think they can't cause you to shape a lie off of what they have written? Reason it out. Go look at it. I don't think you're able to anymore. Just like I said, you've become your own worst enemies. Faith means just believe. Don't go search out the truth. Just believe. It doesn't matter if it's a religious lie that you believe in. Just believe. You've become your own worst enemy. You have hardened your heart. You will not hear the truth because you're built on a lie and you call it having faith. Well, let's see what happens, shall we? Let's see what happens in the next couple of months. Let's see if we're going to be rescued by a man. Let's see if we don't go into another year full of raptured dreams. 29:4. That's not the verse. She says, yeah, I like that one. Where is it? There it is. It is verse 13. Wherefore the Lord said, this is Isaiah 29, verse 13. Wherefore the Lord, that's 136, the daughter Zion's number, if you go in and actually study it. Wherefore the Lord said, for as much as this people draw near to me with their mouth and with their lips, and do honor me, supposedly you have called Lord, Lord, yet I know you not, but have removed their hearts far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men. You fear the God they built up. That's the one you fear, but you don't fear the real one. The real living one that can give you eternal life. That's your E-M in Hebrew, your mother. Not your father, your mother. Your father accused in the beginning and told lies. So he could build up an image of a male God that every woman on this planet would bow to and say, that's God, God, God. And keep from you the fact that you are the spirit in the earth. So, what does it say? Isaiah 29, verse 24. They also that erred in spirit shall come to understand. And they that murmured shall learn doctrine. So when they tear this image down, the pillars of heaven are trembling. When they tear this lying image down, that mountain that smashes the toes on that false image in Daniel 2 then grows into a mountain, actually a capstone herself in Zechariah 4. That is the daughters of Israel, where the covenant of Mother God and her covenant was of 10 commandments upon this earth. And it was found at her daughter's mouth, not her sons. The sons were to enforce that law, and they refused to do so. Adam accused so he could build himself up. And every consecutive kingdom after that, Solomon is the number 666 of a man that built a beast violent system up that became depraved in their sexual thinking. It says they throw off restraint in my presence and they debase me. So if you want to have a covenant with that man with the foreskin, because it tickled his ears, to make a covenant with the harlot spirit that will build him and his laws up, because there's no female in the heavens, there's no such thing as God equal female and God equal. No. Then that would make God a liar. You are without excuse. And you're not going to give one when you're standing before the Almighty with your mouth closed up. You're not going to go, well, I had no idea that the female was the life giver and that we were to call her God and to offer up thanksgiving to our mother. Oh, no. It was always father, 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 or son, 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 or that image built up. And yet the pillars of heaven are going to shake at her rebuke. Long time have I been silenced. Now will I go forth. I will no longer be restrained. I will deliver my children through the Holy Spirit of my mother and her covenant. And they become aflamed and aghast and angered. Let me see. I'm going to try one more time before I leave. And see if it'll give me the verse I'm looking for. If I put it differently. Let's see. Oops, I better spell it right. Okay. So let's look this up here. See what it says. Right quick. Ha! It says, therefore I will shake the heavens and the earth shall be removed out of her place. Yep. In the wrath of the Lord of hosts and in the day of her fierce anger. But it doesn't give me the verse I'm looking for. It says they actually look at each other with their faces on fire. And when you go in and you look it up, it has the idea of great anger or great fear. It says it really is determined by the context. Let me see here. And I know they'll put this in a historical context, but remember, prophecy is stacked. That's how it's spoken of. So I'm going to go in here. No, that's not it. And see what it gives me for a flame. And see if I can't find it that way. So, a flame. It's not going to give it to me. No, it's not going to give it to me. So I'm sorry, I should have had that rolled out, and I didn't think until the last minute. Just look through this word right quick. No, it's not giving me anything close to the passage, which oftentimes it'll do. Lately, more so. Let me try again. See. It keeps giving me Isaiah. Terror will seize them, pain and anguish will grip them. They will writhe like a woman in labor. They will look aghast at each other, their faces aflame. There it is. So it is Isaiah 13, verse 8. I'm going to put a little note here. Okay, so terror will seize them. Pain and anguish. So let's go up to verse 7. Therefore all hands will fall limp and every man's heart will melt. Terror, pain, and anguish, will seize them. They will writhe like a woman in labor. They will look at one another, their faces flushed with fear. Behold, the day of the Lord is coming, cruel with fury and burning anger, to make the earth a desolation and to destroy the sinners within. What sinners? The one who bowed to a religious lie and law. You think you're going to escape the day of the Lord? Bowing to a man as your Lord and God and King? And you get to ignore the divine feminine like you did here on earth and look at the mess I got us in, and you think you're going to be welcomed into a new heaven to destroy that one too? You couldn't learn the truth here when it was gave right to you. And it's being gave to you again. And yet, wisdom is asking you to listen to her, and you're not listening. And she says, fine, you don't want to listen. I'll send a rod of iron. That's fine. So this is the commentary that I was actually looking at. I'm almost certain. All comfort and hope shall fail. The stars of heaven shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened. So such expressions are often employed by the prophets to describe what? The convulsions of governments. God will visit them for their iniquity, particularly the sin of what? Pride. You won't listen to wisdom and her reasoning, which brings men low. There shall be a general scene of horror. Those who join themselves to Babylon, the harlot that exalts a man as Lord and God. And it doesn't matter whether you're male or female. If you have joined your spirit to the harlot spirit, you will be cut away by the rod of iron, no matter how much evidence you want to bring forth and say, he's going to rescue you. And he's going to bring you into a new heaven where you get to ignore the divine feminine so you can tear it all down again. Yeah, there you go. But that don't make sense, does it? Not in a world that's got faith in a lie and is told they're gonna lose their crown. What crown? You don't have one yet. You're not listening to the truth. You're listening to a lie. And that's gonna get you nowhere. So they shall be afraid, rather dismayed. Literally, they shall take holds of pains and sorrows. They shall be amazed, rather look aghast. Their faces shall be as flames. You know why? Because they can't believe they were wrong. That's honey. That's tickling their ears, honey on their tongue. But it's the religious lie, wormwood, and law system bringing you down, shaping sin upon this earth because you refused wisdom when she called. She sent her daughter. Job says, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? But they did. They took a harlot to them. They married them and said, this is Israel. This is the word found through men's. That's why it says Proverbs.5. You are to hearken to your wife. That's who you were to hearken to. But you didn't want that. So she says, he accuses me. And he speaks nasty things against me. They throw off restraint in my presence. They say I did these nasty things and I don't even know what they're talking about. She says, long time have I held my peace, but now I'm going to go forth and I will destroy and I will devour and I will make the crooked thing straight. I will lead the blind by a path that they knew not. If this doesn't reason, then snip, snip, the rod of iron comes for you. If you can't use your brain, then you are not a child of God. We wouldn't want you to do that, but you've been given free will to do it. She said, you've had all this time to do it, and you refused me. So there shall be a general scene of horror. Those who join themselves to Babylon must expect to share her plagues. That's right. All men and women who exalt male, 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 or just one male as God and ignores your life giver, Met, your mother of truth. Yeah. But she says, I'm a mother. I gotta try. I have to try. If there's just a few in the kingdom, and it says the path that leads to destruction be wide, and many there be that find it. What did it say about the day of the Lord here? A desolation. It's a desolation. Yeah. First a Babylon spirit. I think you have to cut away the old seed to bring in the new seed. You do. Matter of fact, that's how it works in the planting system. You have to take out the old seed to put in the new. The one that will receive the truth, which he says in Isaiah 28 or 29, she says, to whom will I teach my truths to? Those that are weaned from the breast. That's right, mother's milk, on mother's milk. So must expect to share in her plagues. Revelations 18:4, all that men have, they would give for their lives, but no man's riches shall be the ransom of his life. Pause here and wonder that men should be thus cruel and inhuman. That's the beast system. That's right. That's right. So you can go in and finish reading that commentary on Isaiah 13:8. I'm on Bible Hub. That's Matthew Henry's concise commentary. So if you hit on your verse 13:8 and hit on, I think it was commentary, it should pull this up and you should be able to read all the commentaries on it. But it's describing the convulsions of the governments, which is going on right now. They're hanging on for dear life. They're pretending they're in charge of everything, but they're hanging on for dear life. And you have a choice to be made. To receive the lies that they're throwing at you. Oh, look, my face is shiny. Or you can reason. And the information is there for you to reason. But if you want to bow like a harlot to a lie, a system that will lie to you, they don't care about preserving your life. They care about building themselves up with riches, with goods, continued power. And the more power that you give them, the more power they will take from you. That's how the governments of the world has always worked. And you know, the Nazis in World War II, they were doing the work of the government for the government. Yeah, that's exactly what we've got going on. This is the rebirth of a new Israel coming into existence, and it's the divine feminine that's on the focus of it all. If you don't see the divine feminine being targeted by what's going on right now, to try to stop them from picking their head up, from opening their eyes, then I don't know where you're looking. Oh yeah, you're having faith in a lie that isn't going to save you. And one of these days, very soon, The day of the Lord is going to be looking you face to face. And you're going to be trembling. Yeah, that's what it says. So what was it, 13? It says, and they shall be afraid, pangs and sorrow shall take a hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flames. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, cruel both with wrath. That's the day of the Lord. It's promised to daughter Israel, daughter Zion, who sits to the right hand of the high priest, who's Numbers 1:13. That's Joshua, who's waiting for his new branch, for the reborn spirit of the dust of the earth that mother determines. She says, this is the pure one. This is my pure one. And I will crown my son with her. She is the ruler, the scepter. And she says, the Spirit says, which is mother at this point, says, I'm not going to rule through a harlot. My son ain't ruling through a harlot spirit. Otherwise, he ain't my son. Joshua knows who he is. And he's not the religious lie that they built up on this man called Jesus, where women will bow to her husband. That's the lie that they told, to build that man image up. Joshua would never expect that out of his sister, out of his bride, out of his spirit. He's just like her because he hearkens to her, just like she hearkens to him. It cuts both ways, boys. Not, and you also will bow to your husband. Oh, look where that one's got us. Yeah. But you know what? This Bible don't testify to it. It only testifies to it when truth matters enough to you to go in and find that little book sealed up. That's when it ought to come to you, when it matters. That's how I know it doesn't really matter to the saints. All they care is getting back to business. But me being truly a saint and caring about the truth, all I got to do is have faith. That's it. I could be as lazy as I want. Truth don't have to matter. I have crown. I got to just protect it. No, you don't. You don't have nothing right now. You have a lie. And you built a man up. So, fierce anger to lay the land desolate, and she shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. Oh, that sounds like the group of angels sent to rip away the tares out of the garden of God. And that's the daughters, the 144,000 holding no guile in their mouth. And they hold the double-edged sword because they know the truth. They know the lie, and they know the truth. Yeah. There you go. Sorry I got loud. I got passionate. I think you should be on flame for the truth, a fire for the truth, a light in a very dark, dying world right now. You've got more sanctimonious people around you now than you ever did. Thinking that they're right. Yeah, and that you're wrong. You're just a stupid hick somewhere. That's all I am. I'm just a stupid hick. But a stupid hick that took time to look around, read it, watch the men, watch their actions, understand their emotions, and understand their pride. I watched it. I witnessed it. I heard it. I heard it my whole life. You can't trust a woman. I heard it on the pulpit. Those women, they're so easily beguiled. They're less in their thinking than we were. And you know what? Sometimes they're not very subtle about it because a woman is far more perceptive than their little brains like to think we are. That's right. And he's far more wicked than we ever gave him credit for. So there you have it. You don't like my words, don't watch the videos. You will never understand the truth. You will never. If your heart is so cold to understanding the truth, understanding reason, then steer clear of me. Steer clear of me, because the truth matters. If it don't matter to you and you think you have it, well, be on your merry way. So anyway, thanks for watching. I pray the Lord really does bless you with an abundance of truth. I know I have a few staunch supporters out there. I appreciate it. I appreciate you going in and realizing what I'm saying is true. It is validated by the word. It is reasoning out. For anybody who looks at the statue and the continued kingdoms that built on that statue, and then when she gives her rebuke, her testimony, and asks for the sanctuary of God and the protection under those laws of God, and for judgment to be made, the Ancient of Days gives it to her, gives the kingdom to her and in her hands. And I appreciate anybody who goes in and validates that for yourself. You are precious to God. You are. And I thank you. I thank you for your support, for your sharing, for your subscription to this channel, for your likes. I appreciate it all. And I love all my brothers and my sisters who are searching for the deeper truths. So I hope you all have